I cheated on the man who loved me more than life itself. It didn't stop at once. I did it over and over again. And when he finally found out, he didn't scream. He didn't beg me to stay. He just looked at me, really looked at me. And in his eyes, I saw everything I'd destroyed. That silence, that calm. It's what haunts me now more than anything else. Because in that moment, I realized I didn't just cheat on a husband. I buried a best friend, a soulmate, a lifeline who'd stick around no matter what. The only man who ever truly loved me, and I did it for something so cheap, so meaningless. I can't even say his name without feeling sick. My name is Lauren. I'm 35. I used to be a wife. I used to be a mother. Now I'm just a woman with an apartment too big for one person and a heart too heavy to ever feel light again. Owen and I met in college. Freshman year, orientation week. He was the quiet one. Kind eyes, shy smile, always sitting in the back row. I was loud, restless, always chasing some dream I hadn't named yet. We ended up in the same study group for economics. He barely spoke at first, but I remember the way he'd glance at me whenever I made a joke, like he wanted to laugh but didn't want to draw attention. It was cute, endearing. One day I walked him back to his dorm after a late session. That's when he opened up. About his dad dying when he was a kid. About helping his mom raise his younger sister. About how he wasn't even sure he belonged in college, that he'd only come because she pushed him to chase something better. I think it was that night I knew I'd marry him. We started dating 3 months later. He wasn't flashy or exciting like the guys I used to chase. He was better, solid, reliable. Every time I spiraled, academically, emotionally, he was there. Never trying to fix me, just holding space, letting me fall apart, and quietly helping me piece myself back together. After graduation, I got into grad school across the country. Without hesitation, he followed, gave up job offers, just packed up his life and said, "Wherever you go, I go." We got married the summer before my final year. Backyard ceremony. My mom made my dress. His sister loved me. It was everything I could wish for, and more. It was magic. Owen cried during his vows. I almost did too, but I was too overwhelmed to process it all. I kept thinking, how did I get this lucky? We bought a house, had a daughter, Emma. I got a high-level job in corporate finance. Owen stayed home with Emma the first 2 years so I could focus on climbing the ladder. Never once did he complain. Not when I worked 60-hour weeks. Not when I forgot anniversaries. Not even when I started coming home late without explanation. He never stopped trying. He'd make dinner, surprise me with little notes, offer to draw me a bath after stressful days. I told myself I appreciated it. But the truth is, I started distancing myself. Not intentionally, at least not at first. But soon enough, I started to resent him. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was boredom, or maybe I was just selfish. But somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing Owen as the man I fell in love with, and started seeing him as safe, predictable, boring. Just someone who took care of my child. Someone who'd take care of the house while I was away, grinding, at work. Then came Darren. Quite the opposite of everything Owen wasn't. Loud, charismatic, flirtatious. He joined our firm as a senior consultant and had a reputation for being trouble. I should have avoided him. But I didn't. I liked the way he looked at me. Like I was still young, still desirable, still someone. It started with coffee, then late meetings, then accidental touches. Truth is, I knew from day one what I wanted. I wanted Darren. I just didn't have the courage to admit it. Not to him, not to myself either. I was a wife, after all. A mother. How could I? The first time it happened, I felt sick. Not just with guilt. That came later, like a cold wave crashing after the heat. No. What hit me first was something darker. A whisper I didn't want to hear. A part of me wanted it. Craved it. Not just the touch, but the attention, the validation, the sense of being seen again. Not as a mother, not as a wife, but as a woman. I told myself it was a one-time mistake, that I'd been vulnerable, exhausted, that Darren had caught me in a weak moment, and that the guilt clawing at my chest meant I was still a good person. I even promised myself I'd confess to Owen, sit him down, hold his hand, cry it all out, and beg for his forgiveness. But I didn't, because underneath all that guilt was something worse. Desire. Not just for Darren's body, but for the way he made me feel. Desired. Dangerous. Alive. It was a company meeting. It ran long, almost 3 hours. Everyone was tired, staring at numbers, PowerPoints, quarterly reports, trying to stay sharp. While the clock inched toward 9 p.m., I was seated beside Darren. Not by choice. It's just how the chairs fell when we filed into the glass conference room after hours. He was doing that thing he always did, taking charge without making it look like he was taking charge. The confident voice, the occasional joke, the way he glanced at me when he knew a punchline would land. I kept my eyes on the projection screen, pretended not to notice, until his hand touched mine. Not overtly. It was the kind of gesture that could be dismissed as accidental. His fingers brushing the back of my hand as he reached for the laser pointer near my notepad. But he didn't pull away. Not right away, and neither did I. I should have, but I didn't. He let his fingers rest there, just lightly, his pinky overlapping mine. It wasn't bold, it wasn't dramatic, but it was intentional, and I froze. I didn't move my hand, didn't jerk it away. I just kept staring at the numbers on the screen while heat flooded my chest and stomach and face. No one noticed. Everyone was too focused on the forecast, too tired to care. But I noticed, and I let it happen. When the meeting finally ended, people filtered out slowly, murmuring goodnights. I stayed behind, pretending to tidy up some papers. My heart was pounding. My brain was a mess. I waited until the last analyst left, until the assistant turned off the hallway lights, until I was alone with the sound of distant elevators and the hum of air vents. Then I went to his office. His light was still on. Of course it was. He looked up as I stepped inside, one brow raised like he'd been expecting me. "What was that about?" I asked. He just looked at me, smirked, didn't answer. The silence was deafening. "I shouldn't have let that happen," I said. Darren stood slowly, pushing his chair back with a soft scrape. "But you did. I came to tell you it ends. Here, this is not happening again." He stepped closer. Not enough to be threatening, just enough to make the space between us feel charged. "So that's why you stayed back? To tell me to stop?" I didn't know what to do. He smiled. Not smug, not cocky. Almost knowing. "You do now." I hated how right he was. I hated how much I didn't want to walk away. And that's when I realized I wasn't here to stop it. I was here because I wanted more. I kissed him first. Pulled back when I realized what I just did, only for him to pull me back in. I let it happen. It was fast, sharp, like ripping off a bandage. I told myself it was to prove something, to take control, to satisfy the pull, and then move on. He didn't hesitate. His hand slid to my back, and just like that, I was melting into him. Months of tension, of stolen glances and unspoken thoughts, surged all at once. It was reckless. I knew what I was doing, with every passing second. I wasn't just kissing him. I was choosing him. Over Owen. Over Emma. Over the life I had spent years building. And when it was over, when I sat there breathless, it hit me all at once. The guilt, the emptiness. I couldn't stay another minute in that office. I left without a word. Darren never chased after me. He wasn't the type. I walked out of that office without looking back, my heels clicking on the tile, my skin still warm with his fingerprints, my heart thudding like a warning I knew I wouldn't listen to. When I got home, Owen was asleep on the couch with Emma's baby monitor beside him. A movie was still paused on the TV. And for a moment, I just stood there, watching the man I promised forever to, feeling like a stranger in my own home. I crept upstairs, slipped in bed. I think I cried for an hour straight. I thought it was the end of it. Surely, it was. But I had no idea how far it would go from here. I saw Darren again. It was bound to happen. We worked in the same building. I got more reckless, less guilty each time. We stayed back late. Hotel rooms during lunch breaks. Weekends, I said I was working overtime. I became a professional liar. I'd look Owen in the eye after sneaking back from Darren's bed and tell him I loved him. I'd kiss my daughter goodnight and tell myself I was still a good mom, still a good person. I tried to stop. I blocked Darren, told him it was over. Lasted a week. He knew how to get in my head, how to twist the knife just right. And I was weak. Every time he called, I answered. Every time he touched me, I forgot what was at stake. Owen never suspected a thing. Or maybe he did. Maybe he was just waiting for me to come clean. 6 months in, I came home late. Again. He was waiting in the kitchen. Quiet. Calm. He slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside were photos, emails, screenshots, everything. He didn't speak. Just watched as I unraveled. I never found out how he knew. My guess is it was a coworker. Had to be. Not that it mattered anymore. How long? He asked. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't lie. 6 months. He nodded, stood, walked upstairs. That was the last night we ever shared a bed. He left 2 days later. Took Emma. Said he'd fight for full custody. Said he didn't hate me. But he also didn't recognize me anymore. That hurt worse than yelling ever could. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. I didn't fight it. Couldn't. He deserved everything. The house, custody, even our dog. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. Sold my ring to cover legal fees. I still see Darren at work. He doesn't even say hello anymore. Turns out I was only exciting to him when I was someone else's wife. Now I'm just the woman who blew up her life. I haven't seen Emma in weeks. Owen limits visits. I don't blame him. Last time we met, she looked at me like I was a stranger. Owen could have ruined me. He could have went public with all the evidence. He didn't. He just silently erased me. From his life. From Emma's life. Every night, I sit in silence. I replay every moment. Every choice. I wonder how I ever thought a man like Darren could replace a man like Owen. I wonder how many anniversaries I'll spend alone. How many birthdays I'll miss. How long it'll take before Emma forgives me, if she ever does. I thought cheating would make me feel alive again. Instead, it hollowed me out. Took everything good and true in my life and turned it to ash. I had everything. A husband who adored me. A daughter who needed me. A life full of love and laughter. And I threw it away. For nothing. If I could go back, God, if I could go back, I wouldn't even need a second chance. Just a moment. A single moment to look into Owen's eyes, hold his hand and say, I see you. I love you. I choose you.